So I started writing something. I started preparing this thing for you. Let's go to it. Because what I'm thinking about is the 5 levels of thinking. This is the place where I started seeing that, okay, there seems to be 5 levels to thinking, 5 levels of thinking. You feel me? As I'm sitting here just deep in meditation, I'm just watching how thoughts arise, how they fall, that sort of thing. You dig what I'm saying? But at a point, you can see a thought coming, you can feel it kind of, pop out on you. But at some point you start saying, but where did you come from? Out of what substance did you arise? Out of what substance? So I start looking, right? I get the peeking. I start noticing there are 5 levels of thought, or we might call it 5 levels of thinking. I want to share those with you right now. This is not the point of the show, but it's certainly my starting point. Here we go. Level 1 is no thought. That's pure presence. So you can think of this as the space in between thinking, or just when you're completely in the zone, right? There's no thoughts, there's no thinking, because there's no your awareness is completely absorbed in the moment. You only have what is in your immediate perception. It's just your lived experience without any thought at all. Just being in the here and now. Okay. Level 1 is no thought. So we call it getting back to one, right? But then we have level 2. This is focused presence, but then there starts to be the static noise. So if you get into your deep meditation, what you'll see is that, yeah, you're present, and there's just the darkness behind your eyes, and there's nothing else. And then all of a sudden, there will be these movements. It'll be just these slight images, these noises, these sounds, these words, but they're all just complete memories or formulations, patterns, stimuli that you have observed during your day that are now recycling back through your waking consciousness. I call these static noise type thoughts. You don't really, most people don't even notice that they're there. But if you could imagine these sort of uh, piecemeal, these like these little thoughts, they kind of collect and gather together until they start forming larger pictures in the mind. Fascinating. Okay, so then we get to level 3. This is coming completely out of my own session. From that static noise type of thought, that's when our agreements and disagreements with reality can happen. Now we start getting into what's called discursive thought. That's just thinking in language, thinking with words. This discursive thought, now we're talking to ourselves, talking about what we got to do today, what's going to happen tomorrow. You feel me? And as we continue to do that, then we start getting into what I call phenomenal reliving. This is thinking with all of the senses. So now it's not just you sitting here talking to yourself, it's you back in the past or trying to project yourself into the future, where you literally project yourself into a situation where you are taking on the sights, the sounds, the tastes, the hearing. You are fully 3 dimensionally inside of this new environment. You're thinking about what you got to do tomorrow. You're thinking about you have to go to the grocery store. Now you're placing yourself in the store, and you're thinking, "Oh man, I hope I don't have to see Sally on the way. I hope I don't have to. I hope I don't come out my house and see the neighbor because she might whatever." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're putting yourself into this. I noticed for me, I'm putting myself into this 3 dimensional experience of either past or future. I'm either reliving something or I'm in the future somewhere. These are this is the 4th level of thought. So now we're beyond just thinking about and thinking in language, beyond talking to myself. I'm literally reliving either a future moment, or sorry, a past moment, or I'm projecting myself into a future moment. Okay. But it's three-dimensional. It's thinking with all of the senses. You'll find that this is the place where all of the anxiety comes from. Because to the person who is at the fourth level of thinking, their body is still in the present, but their thoughts, their minds are in a whole different, are taking up attention, and they're in a whole different environment. One that is not here. Okay, so we have this phenomenal reliving, typically of the past, but it can also be a reliving of an imagined future. Hmm. Then we get to level 5. These runway thoughts, this is where we have the arising of runway thoughts that give way to other thoughts. Right? Thinking itself works by association. And human beings, when we think of something, we're thinking always in association with something else. So when we have a thought about whatever we have to do today, one thing that the mind can do is immediately register back, associate back to the last time we did that very thing. How did it go? Were we successful? Were we embarrassed? Did we get upset? Did we win? Did we fail? Did we lose something? You dig what I'm saying? We start associating back to a former time, a former moment. This is all important because let me know y'all can still hear me. This is all important because once we can see that a runway thought is starting to germinate, it's starting to spread to other sections of our mind, it's starting to produce, give birth to thoughts of a similar nature. You think about one situation that you're really ambivalent about, you really don't want to even go into the office tomorrow or whatever the case is. And that feeling of anxiety associates back to your own childhood. You start thinking about a time that you were hurt decades ago. All inside of we're talking seconds, we're talking microseconds of flipping through these experiences. And once you're at the stage of phenomenal reliving, the problem is that you're now actually feeling it. You're now reliving, refilling the situation in the first place. So we call that basically living in the phantom zone, right? Where you're revisiting the phantoms of the past or the ghosts of the future, and you're actually feeling what it's like to experience these emotions all over again, as if the situations that you're facing are real and appearing here and now. Because from the perspective of your attention, which is focused on these thoughts, you are reliving this experience in the here and now. You are anxious all over again. You dig what I'm saying? So as I'm sitting here thinking about this, I'm like, okay, so these are like the 5 levels of thought. And none of these need to be a problem. You can have presence at every step, or you can be lost at every step. In other words, you can step back and observe the static noise, observe the discursive thought, observe phenomenal reliving, and not really be too caught up in it. But that kind of thing takes practice. And to the point that I want to get at tonight is, what is the nature of this thinking in the first place? Where are these thoughts even coming from? So on the show tonight, I want to make sure that we're going back and revisiting. I want to go look again. I want to look fresh. I want to know, how do we get from level 1 to level 2? That static noise, those images, those symbols that just kind of percolate in the mind, they come out of nowhere. You have to be so vigilant to even notice that they are even present. You have to be so vigilant to even notice that they're present. How does that even, when does that start? And what I started noticing is that, and let me know if you've noticed this too, that there's no control. Oh, sure, you can decide that you want to create a picture in your mind and project yourself into it. You can decide. There is a level of choice at each one of these stages. But left to its own devices, just watching the mind do its thing, it seems that the thoughts come out, they're choiceless. They come out of nowhere. For me specifically, it feels like the thoughts are choiceless. They come out of nowhere. So if I'm not the one choosing them, how can I be sure that they're mine to begin with? Oh, I get that they come out of patterns. I get that they come out of a past or a memory set that I call my own. But if I'm not the one choosing, I want to get to the nature of thinking itself. Sometimes you have those thoughts that seem to force themselves in, that seem to be intruders. And sometimes it's really, really hard to get them out. Hmm.